So this bike has gone through some very significant changes. At the moment, the only original parts of it are the frame and the wheels and the brakes. I've changed literally everything else. So complete overhaul of the entire suspension, including 3 inches front suspension and a proper coil shock at the back here with rebound adjustment. I think it probably gets between 1 and 2 inches of travel at the back, so I wouldn't really consider this a full suspension bike. I'd consider it a kind of front suspension soft tail, if that makes any sense. But I'm very pleased with how this has turned out. In terms of the numbers and costs, well, I bought this, I think it was on some kind of reduction, but the whole bike that I bought was £799, so about £800. And if I factor out the duplicate parts I bought, because with these kinds of things I usually buy 2 or 3 of the same kind of part, different sizes and things, because I'm not sure what will fit. I think the whole thing totals between maybe £1,100 and £1,300, probably around the £1,200 mark, which I think, considering what I've got now, is extremely good value. So I'll look at the front of the bike. So at the front, change the fork. So this is an SR Suntour XCM. This is an air shock fork with a lockout, and they've been tuned for junior riders, but also this particular version of it, when I contacted Suntour, they've actually beefed up a little bit. I think you could do it with the old one as well, but basically you can just pump up the air chamber and you're good to go for full-blown adult riders as well, which is really good. And they actually specified that with this particular iteration or build of this fork, because they don't make them in large numbers, and I had to wait a few months to get this because they're in demand. So yeah, this is fully spec'd for an adult rider, so that's good. And this is an e-bike, and I'll talk about the weight a bit later, but the weight is surprisingly good for what it is and what I've done to it. So I've got those forks. The front light I've changed as well. It had this really tacky kind of reflector, so I just resprayed that in black, and I took it apart and sealed it with some glue because it wasn't the best sealed unit. I think it integrates a lot better now. You may have noticed I've changed the branding. I resprayed the front end. I made my own brand up, Grey Cell, which I'm thinking of maybe doing something with. Start with maybe some merchandise like caps, t-shirts, whatever, and then maybe do something else with it. But I quite like that. I did the Photoshop work, not on Photoshop. I actually use only Chromebooks, so I think it was Pixlr I used. But the edition that's like a Photoshop facsimile, really, and it's really easy. But anyway, it took a while though, so I've rebranded it. I think the branding looks a lot better. And then if you look up, there's no more collapsible stem. I've got this Delta stem extender. This is nice. I've got this is what I used for my Yedu e-conversion as well, and it's machined out of a piece of aluminium billet, so it's not forged, so it should be pretty strong. It's machined CNC'd, and then it's got a really nice gloss electroplating, or actually I think it's anodized, but it's a good quality item. FSA extender, a few spaces on there. This is what I really like. So I got these from my old bike. I've stripped down my old mountain bike. These bars you can't buy anymore. They're about 20 years old. They're called Core Strictly D's. I refurbished them because there's a few scratches. And they're basically utterly bomb-proof. They're nice and wide, or wide enough without being too wide. So it's somewhere between a modern mountain bike width and a BMX width. It's a bit between the middle, a bit between the two rather. I've got a really nice, again, 20-year-old World Force stem. That thing again is super light and bomb-proof. Yeah, I've put some little grey Neva covers on there. I've completely changed the drivetrain, so I've got a SRAM 6-speed grip shift shifter, and I've got a Shimano Tourney TX 6-speed on the back as well, and it's just a much better system. The crank, I've got a box crank, and it's a box 5 with some really nice nylon rock bros pedals, which are really nice, which I really like, and then a Thorn chain guard on there as well. I've hidden the logo just to simplify it a little bit. I've put it behind the crank arm. Got my branding here again to cover up the bizarre 1980s nuclear bunker hazard sign logo, whatever that was. And here's the shock I got. It's an EXA. I think they're based or designed in Taiwan, but they're made in China. This is a decent little shock, actually. It's really nice. The action is really good. You've got a nice rebound adjuster on there. I'm really happy with that, and it was fantastic money. It was really cheap. I think it was only about 40 quid, which is incredible. It was the best quality I could get. I also got an air shock, but it didn't fit. Yeah, it's still trial and error with this kind of thing. So I've got the adjustable seat post on there, and this seat, Primero, this is an AliExpress job. I think it's actually a specialised replica, but it's comfy and it's super light, so I quite like that. I've got this really nice twist on off LED light for the back as well, and it's a ring light. It's a nice little ring, and you can press it, it flashes. It's also got a sensor for braking, but I'm not sure how that works. I don't speak Chinese, and unfortunately the manual was completely in Chinese. But yeah, I'm really happy with what it looks like. It's really, really good. And the weight. So when I got this as standard, it came in at £50. Now I've completely changed the drivetrain. The entire gear system's changed. I've got new crank, new chain guard, pedals, new forks, new bars, new stem, grips, basically everything apart from the frame, brakes and wheels. Even the tyres, I've got Schwalbe Blackjacks, which are really nice. I was going to get sort of Comp 3 style tyres, but I quite like the Blackjacks. And yeah, they're quite soft compound. I think they'll be quite grippy. And I haven't got them pumped up too much, but I'm going to take it out and ride it. I've ridden it once to get the gears done, because I don't like doing gears myself. I took that to the shop to get done. Everything else I've built myself. And it's pretty easy. But yeah, really, really happy with it. So yeah, with all that stuff combined, it's up to 52.9. So I've only added 2.9 pounds in weight, and I've added 3 inches suspension on the bike, plus a proper coil at the back. That coil shock was about the same weight, if not a tad lighter or maybe a tad heavier, but it's more or less the same weight as the plastic elastomer that came with it, which was not very good. It was just, I mean, I would consider that a placeholder for a shock rather than a shock, because it was a chocolate teapot. It just didn't work. Another thing I did, which is I've invented, I think, a new classification of bike, which I'm calling XTB, or cross-terrain bike. And this one is branded as a XTBE because it's electric. So I invented a criteria, my own fancy criteria for what an XTB is. And it's a bike which is 24-inch wheels or smaller, not 26, not 27.5, not 29, because it's too big, so very compact. Preferably full suspension or soft tail like this, if not front suspension. Preferably foldable and preferably electric, but not a deal breaker. But the real thing is a kind of versatility and compactness as well. I mean, I've got I had a reasonably old Marin full suspension bike, which had 5 inches travel at the back and 4.5 to 5 at the front. And I really enjoyed that bike, and I've had it for a good few years, and it's great fun. I built it up as a kind of heavy XC. But because the wheels are so big and I live in an apartment or a flat, it's a bit unwieldy. This thing can actually fold up, stick it in the back of a car. It's really, really nice. It's got a really long wheelbase on it. I did a few miles on the road with it, and it was really comfy. So the cockpit fits me nice. I'm 6'1". And as I say, the wheelbase is as long as my old mountain bike, but without that bulkiness. I want to take it on the trails and see what it rides like. It's somewhere between a BMX, a road bike, and a mountain bike, I think. But I think on the road it felt more like a mountain bike, to be honest with you. But I love these Strictly D bars. I think they really work with it. I had a few other bars I tested, and I had some nice radio bars and some kind of BMX cruiser style bars. But these, it gives it more of a mountain bike vibe, I think. And they just look really cool. I just love these things. Anyway, there it is. Yes, some serious changes. I'll show you the other side of it, actually. Let's get around. Drop it down so you can look at the other side. So, yeah. I don't know, that's much of a view. The camera's going to move around a bit. Let me move it up about. And it feels really solid, which is nice. I have to say, adding front suspension and putting a coil on, it actually does feel like a full suspension bike now. And what I found interesting was the initial travel stroke on the front fork. it's very supple, and so that should bode well for good, for sort of small bump sensitivity. The other forks I've got on my Yedo dragster e-scooter conversion are the same forks as these, and I've pumped them up to a similar kind of pressure, and I found they were really nice out on the trails, really supple and really plush. But if you hit something big, it was quite a progressive kind of spring rate, so it doesn't ramp up and bottom out. It doesn't go through its travel too quickly, I think is what I'm trying to say. So yeah, hopefully this will perform a similar way. It feels very nice. You've got initial very plush, very loose feel to the suspension. I've got about maybe 10 millimeters of sag on there, but it's nice. It's not too stiff and it's not too supple. I think it should be nice. I'll take it out, have a bit of a test in the next couple of days, and see what it's like. But yeah, I think this thing is just so different to the original bike, and I wanted to push it and see how far I could take it in terms of getting more out of it, really, from a performance point of view or a versatility point of view. Another thing that was interesting about the bike when I got it was you had this setup here where it looks like, you could charge the battery while it was in the bike, and it looks like they had one of these with a loop between something at the bottom, so you could flick it off and it would just hang there, but there was nothing here, so you just had a hole. And this thing is IP60 something certified, but obviously that would have been with this. And on the manual, you didn't have a plug, but it didn't come with a plug. I contacted the guy who was selling it. He said, "Oh no, we don't supply that." So I got these from China and I plugged both holes. And at the moment, it's a foldable bike, but because I've raised the front end by 3 inches, if you fold it up, it lifts the rear, when you put the two wheels together and you fold it in half, the rear wheel is effectively jacked up by 3 inches. So because you've got 3 and a bit inch travel, so it just falls over without some kind of block to rest the wheel on. It's a bit of a chocolate teapot from a folding bike point of view, but I don't care. I'll only be opening this to access the battery, and frankly, I can charge it out in the hallway, so I'll be charging through this whole job done. I didn't particularly want a folding bike. I think it was, I like the folding functionality, if you want to get into a car or something, but it's not a deal breaker. And I think I might find some way around that. But anyway, I think that's about it. Yeah, so that's the transformation of my cheap Chinese e-bike into something which is still cheap, but I think, I don't know. I mean, I think for £1,200, £1,200 to £1,300 max, that's a nice, serious bit of bike, I think, and I didn't want a full-blown size mountain bike. I wanted something more compact with similar kind of relaxed, easygoing, but not flimsy cross-country appeal. And using the 250 watt nominal power output motor at the back when I was on the road, this thing could get up to 15, 16 miles an hour. It's limited because it's Euro spec, but it felt really talky and really nice. Riding up hills was really easy on it. So I'm really eager to see, now that I've got full suspension set up, or let's just say soft tail front suspension, what it will be like out on the trails. I hope that was in some way interesting and informative. I've really liked doing this thing up. I've dismantled my mountain bike. I'll be selling that. So if anyone's interested in an utterly loved 2009 Mini-Link Marin Alpine Trail with some interesting custom parts, I've got my Zocchi forks on there, and a nice headset and stuff, then yeah, that'll be up on eBay at some point. Anyway, that's enough for now, and thank you for watching. You can subscribe and do all the other things that people do. If you're interested in this Grey Cell brand and my logo and my corporate ID I've designed, and you'd like to buy a t-shirt or a cap or something, then I might be doing something like that. I might set up a Patreon to get it kick-started and funded. Or not kick-started, nothing so grandiose, but just get a bit of money to maybe get some stuff. If you're interested in stuff like that, a t-shirt with a nice novel logo on it and some branding, I might do a bit more with that as well. I'm thinking, I've got some ideas about what I might want to do with it. But anyway, I quite like the branding. I think it suits bikes and it suits this kind of application. But anyway, yeah, if you're interested in merch, as they say, then drop me a comment and, I don't know, let's see what we can do. That's all for now. Hope you have a lovely day, night, or whatever it is in terms of time frame that you're watching this in. And hopefully I will see you soon. Bye-bye.